Welcome to Wisdom Exchange TV. My name is Suzanne F. Stevens, Chief Edge Optimizer for the Ignite Excellence Group of Initiatives. One of our key initiatives is the Ignite Excellence Foundation, which goal is to invest, inspire, and develop women in emerging countries. With that goal in mind, we produce Wisdom Exchange TV, which interviews leading ladies all over Africa. This is an education site where we'll learn about our leading ladies' area of expertise as well as her leadership lessons. We interview women in politics, business, philanthropy, and education with the goal to educate and inspire women to action. Please join us on Wisdom Exchange TV fan page, as well as come back frequently. We update a new interview every 2 weeks, but every day there's something new on our homepage because we syndicate blogs. Today we are in Kigali, Rwanda, with a leading lady that many of you may have heard of before because she's internationally renowned. We're with Janet Kubana, co-founder and COO of Gahaya Links. Janet and her sister Joy, I'm going to get you to say Joy's last name.
Joy's last name is Ndungute.
Okay, perfect. Co-founder of Gahaya Links. And they have been recognized internationally, not only for creating business opportunities for hundreds of women and men in rural Rwanda after a dark point in Rwanda history, but also by taking that business to international markets, particularly with the US, major purchasers such as Macy's, Fairwinds Trading, and the Oprah magazine, amongst others. Gahaya Links is now the leader of Rwanda's one-of-a-kind baskets, commonly known as Peace Baskets. Gahaya Links has won many awards, including African Prize for Leadership for Sustainable End of Hunger in 2008, Gold Exporter of the Year 2008 by Rwanda Development Board, due to your transparency, promoting Rwanda, and creating a great impact on Rwandans.
Right.
What an achievement. It is so nice to meet you, Janet.
Nice to meet you.
I know we've been trying to get this interview for a year. We came back just to make sure we got a chance to. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, it's my understanding you were actually in Uganda.
Right.
Then you came home after in 1994. What was the catalyst for starting this business?
You know, when you talk about Uganda, I was raised in a refugee camp in Uganda where my parents went, to seek refuge after the 1959 ethnic clashes in Rwanda, which when people talk about genocide, people started having problems way back in 50s, 40s. So my parents fled to Uganda and I was raised in a refugee camp. After the 1994 genocide, we all were free with saying that, oh, we are no longer going to be called refugees, we need to go back home and, regain our nationality. Now, when I came back, one of the things that struck me and my sister Joy, was the situation that was in Rwanda at that time. There were women with fresh wounds, children on the streets, men with machetes, young girls, and that time everybody was really, it was so one of the most challenging times of my life to see somebody traumatized. So the passion picked the situation that was in Rwanda at that time, because that time we were running a small hotel and people knew that at the hotel that's where they would find food, and that's how we started meeting with the people that came to the hotel and seeing the horrible situation they were in. That pushed us to say, how can we give back? But for me as a person, I was picked from the refugee camp by church, and one of my calling was giving back. Because when I considered how much people paid their church dues for me to go to school, it humbled me down, and I had a calling in me saying, you give back. And that's how I embraced this, what I'm doing with my sister Joy. We embraced it, but based on our humble beginning.
Your story is a great story, and the need to give back. I think a lot of people feel the need.
Right.
A lot of people just don't know how to execute on it. A lot of your business is in the export. You're known internationally outside Rwanda, and that's actually why I knew of you before coming here.
Right.
So, what percentage of your business is actually in export?
95%. We looked at the opportunities. Of course, there are so many things that urged us to go into the export market. Number one, to expose the beauty of the Rwandan products, the fineness, the uniqueness of our product. Secondly, there were some bilateral trade agreements that were signed by Rwanda government that we needed to exploit to give more opportunity to Rwandan products. And then another thing that urged us to be in the export market was, how do we transform this hobby into an income-generating activity while empowering women to become entrepreneurs? So we wanted to engage the ladies to show them that they can make it in business beyond borders.
You made a really important comment there about making money and still doing good, which often you see people doing good
Right.
and not making money. And there's nothing wrong with making money.
Right.
And so you're a profitable organization.
We are a profitable organization.
Good to hear. Now, which countries do you export to?
We have a little portion going to UK, but through a chain store that originates from the US.
Now, do you export any of your finished goods to Africa?
We do small exports to Uganda, but to small boutiques like Serena, Curia shops. So people buy from us and go sell, especially our seconds, that the second grade that we don't export. People buy it, send it to Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda. So you actually find most of our products scattered, but not in big volumes.
Let's say a woman is watching this and wants to get into the export market. Talk about the grade that it would have to be achieved in order to export to the United States or the UK.
When you talk about the US market, for them it is, you know, they have like standard sizes. They tell you, we need a 30 centimeter fruit box. It is that 30 centimeter. But you know, these are handmade items, whereby you find somebody went on and made 32, 28, and those ones we won't send them. So we have to find markets for those. They are very beautiful, they are of high quality, but the measurement was a little bit different from what the client asked for. So being handmade, things will not be exactly the same. There's always variations. And then those that are very unique, those are of high quality, we sell them to local market or we sell them to the regional market because they are of highest quality, but the only difference was sizing.
Now, is there anything else you need to consider besides sizing when you're exporting to the United States?
Our finishing must be unique. Our workmanship should be of the highest quality, whereby when you look at it and you really feel the beauty of the product. So for us, number one, the finishing must be of the highest quality. The workmanship should really be the best that we expect from our artisans.
But the reality is the artisans are spread out throughout Rwanda, correct?
Right.
So how do you ensure that they are giving you the quality that you can actually export?
We do a lot of training. Where we are sitting is is the training center. We train the women on the techniques on how to make the highest quality. But there are things that we use that are simple to simplify the workload to the women, especially measurements. We normally take like a piece of banana fiber string, measure 30 centimeters, cut it, and distribute them to each of the women and say, you weave your basket, as soon as you reach here, stop. So that is how we have managed to teach them in the best way possible for them to understand the kind of standards that we are looking at. Then second, our raw materials. We prepare the raw materials here and give them to the women so that we don't have variation like in colors, in shades, whereby we have the uniformity. Once you come here and you see baskets from Eastern Province, Western, when you meet them here, they all look alike.
Do they get paid per item they produce?
We pay per piece. We wanted to have women and men feel that they need to work hard. So there are people who put in a lot of effort and make 4 pieces, while others are making 1, because when you go in Rwandan villages, weaving is not on a full-time basis. Women, they don't have workers, they don't have easy way to do things like cooking. So women still have to go to the garden, come back, do the house chores, cook, clean, and then weave maybe in the afternoon. Then there are others who have made it as a profession, whereby they say, since I'm making high turnover in this product, let me wake up in the morning and do it as a full-time job. So what we did, we trained them along the way. From their earning, how can you pay somebody to replace you in what you're supposed to do in the garden, at home, so that you pay them and make highest turnover?
They produce something, but it is not of the caliber that you expect, and therefore it can't export to the US. What do you do with that piece?
It has been a challenge to us to do that, but what we did, we allowed the cooperatives to partner with the local stores in Rwanda. So whatever doesn't fulfill our standards, we allow the cooperatives to sell it anywhere.
And then do they pay you for the product?
What we did was to actually minimize on rejects. So our rejection is to 5%, sometimes 0, based on how we really worked so hard to develop a prototype for them, to show them how they avoid the poor quality. And more to that, we allowed them to sell them in local markets, because in local markets, they get less pay. All of them thrive to have the highest quality, to get the highest pay. They also take it into consideration that they need to make more pay than giving it away for little money.
Sounds like a good strategy, a good system in place. I noticed on your website, there's often, we help promote women, and always in brackets there's and men.
Yes.
And you know, I found that intriguing, but it also comes back to what you're talking about, that in the rural areas there's women and men producing baskets. Now, my understanding of the Africa to date, with the 14 countries that I've been to and interviewed women, that, you know, the woman has a lot of responsibility at home, and you've already alluded to that. Are women producing more or less than men because men don't have the responsibilities? They can focus a lot more day in and day out, but that may not be the reality. So I'm just curious of the reality.
The reality is some men did not embrace weaving because they believed that weaving was absolutely for women. So a man making a basket, I think, would find it very ridiculous. But one thing that pushed men to come into weaving was the amount of money women were making. So the men we have in the weaving groups came in because they looked at the income. Because you find most of the men are engaged in, like, working in gardens, building sites where women now are these days, but the pay was lower than the women who make baskets. So some men became brilliant and said, you know what, instead of staying outside moving in somebody's garden, let me join a weaving group and see. And they learned quickly. It was hard, but the men that are doing now baskets, they produce more than women because they don't have a lot of responsibilities at home. While the woman is busy cooking for the family, the man is seated there making the basket. And this has come into, we did a survey and we found we had a family of husband and wife making baskets. Their weekly income was the highest, but the man made more because the woman would have to cook lunch, cook dinner, do other things that she's supposed to do at home, like cleaning, washing clothes for her children, or doing other home chores. As you know, women do a lot. So where we have weaving men, they really put in a lot of effort and they earned more than women.
Once they got rid of their ego, they were able to...
Yeah, those ones who went beyond thinking that weaving was for women.
Now, does that go against any of your objectives or vision as an organization?
Our code was to empower the women. We embraced men, but if all men decide to weave, I think we'll have to balance and say, let us leave it to the women. Simply because the fruits of this project are very enormous. You find women who are beaten in homes because of begging are no longer beaten. So we still feel that that is their freedom. And we still want to keep that freedom, whereby their home values, their dignity is restored in family. So that because for me I feel when you give more money to the men, then women will still have the same problem. So we want actually to keep our women producing, to free them from that kind of, like, they're always asking. and we want to prove to the men that we are productive. We can be productive.
I have a product. What should I be doing in order to engage in the export market?
When you are looking into export market, there's a lot to do. First of all, you first know, where am I going? What is the destination I want to take my products? What I did was to do a market survey on Google. If it is something in fashion, I learned more from Google, the trends in the United States, and moved towards the trends that are on. Then there are other things that you have to consider so that you don't look irrelevant in the market. What are the color trends? What are the cultures of the people you are going to sell? What is the utility mode of the product that I'm taking? If it is a basket, how would the people there embrace it? Then you try to learn. I tried to look at the products that are more or less like what I'm taking. Research on prices. Research on custom duty regulations. Research on transportation. So there's a lot that you have to learn before you think of going to the market, so that you are not taken by surprise when you reach a destination.
Now, is there a place in Rwanda that people can go learn that information?
There is Rwanda Development Board that try to teach, and the Ministry of Commerce and Trade. They are trying to help people who are aspiring exporters or prominent business people to learn more, because there are policies that are in place. Then there are bilateral trade agreements which they need to educate people. Then there is U.S. Embassy here. There is a commercial office whereby you go and ask about their trade regulations, entry, customs regulations in the United States, taxation and all that. And then conformity, standards, requirements, sanitary and phytosanitary requirements. And some of these you actually go even on a website, like on AGOA website, agoa.gov, you find all information of selling products in the United States. So you have to get on your toes and research. And for me, I would say Google is my other office.
I'm sure Google would like to hear that. What is one of the major obstacles in trading out of Rwanda? Is there any challenges in dealing here to get your products elsewhere?
First challenge that was the grassroots organizational structure, which actually the government has worked on based on the challenges that we met. They now came up with a policy of people being in cooperatives, whereby when you are training people who are together. Then another challenge is, how do you enter the US market? The starting point is always hard. So you have to understand the destination, where you are going. So we started going into exhibitions, flea markets, going to trade fairs, whereby buyers would come and look at our products. And that is, financially, it's also a challenge.
What opened up the market to you is the trade fairs?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, who was your first customer in the U.S.?
Macy's.
It was Macy's?
Yes.
Okay. Now, why do you think the piece baskets were so successful?
When we started the brand of the Rwandan Peace Basket, first of all, we're basing it on the history whereby there was violence in this country, people killing one another, and we really wanted to make this as our peacemaker. Why did we pick the peace basket? For me, on my view, it was women suffered more than everybody. Men were killed, children were born, women remained alone, but they still needed more peace to settle, to be in their homes, to have a peace of mind. So why the peace basket became so successful, it was that it is through the weaving that we initiated that people started actually embracing the forgiveness. Because one of our cooperatives, we had women who were friends before the genocide, neighbors, but through weaving, one started asking for forgiveness on behalf of her husband. Please forgive my husband. I know you lost a lot of people, but forgive us. If you find a heart, please forgive. during the weaving sessions, they would chat, and it started soothing her heart, you know, seeing somebody saying, I'm sorry. And one moment during a church court, she woke up and said, I am forgiving this family. So we felt that the basket has created a lot of peace in this country because it has brought together the warring, you know, the both sides, both sides of the genocide. In our weaving groups, we have women who survived genocide. We have women whose husbands are in prison. We have girls who lost everybody in the weaving groups, heading households. So through weaving, we managed to have these people under one roof, sharing, working together.
You know, Janet, when I asked you that question, that's not the answer I was looking for. But what is amazing about that answer is you focused on Rwanda first. When I asked you the question, what I meant is I meant that question, except I was looking for an answer on why I was successful as a business. But what was interesting to me is your goal ultimately was bringing people together to work together. So that to you is success.
Right. On the market,
yes.
On the market, I think people wanted also to give back. Our market wanted to give back. Because most people had learned of the Rwandan peace baskets they had. Then they also came to know about Rwandan genocide. People felt so sorry for these people of Rwanda. Wherever I traveled, like when I was promoting baskets in Macy's, everybody felt that they should own this basket to support.
You talked about the baskets. So that was one way.
Yes.
Another way, now did you label or tell the story with the basket?
Yes.
Okay, so you marketed the basket and told the story. Did you do anything else that people felt? Because you know, if there's two baskets, I need a basket, I'd be drawn to the story myself.
You know, people valued the impact the basket was making in Rwanda. Because, you know, through selling those baskets, the market felt that should I buy this basket, I'm providing food for some family in Rwanda. So people embraced it as a corporate social responsibility. People felt that through buying that basket, they feel they are connecting to the producer and they are changing lives. So the market embraced it in that way, saying that we buy it, but we are buying it for a cause. Then beyond that, like now, when we are now in the open competitive market, people are buying them because they are of high quality.
Which is exactly what I was going to ask you.
So
excellent.
now we are rebuilding Rwanda. People have worked so hard, but there are people who are looking for the uniqueness of the product. And whenever they buy these baskets, even if you go on Macy's website, you'll find saying, I've never seen the beauty. I've never seen something beautiful like this basket. So people are appreciating the workmanship of the product.
Now, you've been exporting for how long?
Since 2005.
Okay. Now, what do you do besides keeping the quality of the product to maintain those relationships so that those organizations that you're exporting to continue buying from you?
So to make life easier for our partners, we move based on how the market trends are. So we always try to create something new. We don't want to say we shall sell baskets for the rest of our life. So we also try to diversify using the same technique. From the basket, what else can we offer the market? Can we make this type of earrings and send it to the market? Same technique of weaving. So we tried to diversify in products that can fit in within the market that we are selling the products.
Now, how is your jewelry doing?
We did a pretty good work with Kate Spade, New York. You know, Rwandan women have a way. I think that's why we call ourselves, our center, the gifted hands. Even people who make the same work like we do, when you look at our workmanship, we give it time. We give it a touch of difference whereby you can differentiate in quality if you look at the product. So when you go to a high-end boutique like Kate Spade, you are expecting a product that is going to retail over $100. you are expecting high quality clientele because you rate in between the markets. So Kate Spade is a high end. If you are designing something to be in Oprah magazine, it better be good. So we focus more on trends and the finishing, and quality is our key part.
A lot of these relationships have to be connections between you and the buyer. What do you do to make sure that relationship continues?
Communication. Our key thing is communicating and updating our clients what they have done with us. One of the things that I normally do is update if you bought from a particular group, I always update you on how your group is performing, especially from what they earned from you. Because we share what was successful, how did we do, from the money we earned from the sales, what did it do? So I always share stories of the impact of their business in Rwandan communities. So that one keeps them motivated to see that they're changing lives.
Very effective. And so how often would you communicate to Kate Spade or Macy's?
Every end of season, like if we finish fall, then I update them after fall. Then when we are about to do spring, then I tell them. We send messages from the women. We share success stories in our communities. We achieve a lot. Somebody would tell you, I have put electricity in my house from the money I made from the baskets I sold to Macy's. So we go to that person, take that story and share it with Macy's. Somebody say, I have been dreaming to buy a cow. I bought a cow. We share those stories. But we do it after the season of business.
Now, you talked about staying ahead of the trends. So you need to plan.
Right.
It's fall. You don't say, okay, let's produce for fall. So how far ahead are you producing your product in order to export it so it shows up when the trend is actually relevant?
As soon as I finish, like spring is in the stores, I start trying to get the trends for the following year's spring colors. Then I also interest the buyers by introducing something ahead of time, and then they just pick it, get interested, and say, oh, what if we alter this that way? But what makes us moving, we always interest our buyers. We always think before they do. Now, right now, we have already planned for spring 2013. We have it in plan because we know the colorways that are coming in. So we are planning that. As soon as we finish the fall production, we ship fall production with spring samples.
You've talked about the trends.
Yes.
Where do you learn the trends?
It was through the partners that we worked with. Like Macy's, they would say, we want this in colorway, these are the colors that will be. Then they directed me on the trend website where you subscribe. Anthropology. There's a lady in anthropology called Linda Chow. She is ahead of time. So she collects her colorways, makes a color chart for you and says, ladies, if you're looking for 2013, the colorways are here. So they have been also so helpful. Not every color that is on trends will be bought, but some prefer. Like Kate Spade, her colors are different. She's hot pink, green, yellow, whereas when you go to others, they are different. So then there are other things you have to know to research the market. Who are the clients of anthropology? What kind of products? Then you look at it as a bohemian kind of fashion. Then you also research on bohemian fashion trends, colorways. There are people who like funky work. Then you have to like the hippie type. What can I do for them?
What would be the biggest obstacle that you've come across in order to produce your products, and how did you overcome it?
One of the obstacles that I had was standards, conforming with the US standards, especially based on the raw materials, whereby you have to provide a certificate of authenticity, certificate of, I did not know that. As we started the business, somebody would say, what is the certificate of analysis? What is the sanitary and phytosanitary? What is the product made of? So the key obstacle was identifying a product, analyzing it to conform with the requirement, inspection, sanitary and phytosanitary inspections. Then packaging was an issue here because we used to pick boxes here and there and package it, but we had to come to terms and said we need to make our own boxes. So that was a challenge. And then financially it was challenging. We did not know that a product had to go with tag, story card, then barcode, you know, a lot of things that are involved in the export market. You have to have the UPC, you have to have labels, you have to have story card, you have to have, you know, some people are so strict about that. So it was a challenge for us. Such that we shared with them and said, we can't print UPC labels in Rwanda. We can't do barcoding. So most of the clients actually send them over to us to do it here. On the organizational part, the biggest obstacle was the building the production cycle, whereby you have to deal with the producers. We tried to have women in the same neighborhood work together so that when you are training in a product, it was a challenge. The first challenge was having the both sides of genocide come together. That one pushed us way behind because some villages you find like there are 10 survivors, they don't even want to meet with the rest of the group. So that was a huge challenge. But as we kept on teaching with the Rwandan message of unity and reconciliation, it helped us to build the production structure. One of the challenges we had was actually between the government institutions and our company, whereby they did not understand what export market was. Going to Macy's, we are not going direct. We are going through Fairwinds trading. You would say, I'm selling this basket, let's say at $12. I'm paying a producer $8. Most of them would not look at, they did not understand. Every stage you go, they multiply by 2. So when people would go on the Macy's website and find a basket selling at $40, $42, when the producer has got $8, most of them thought it was exploitation. It was a challenge. We had to educate our partners, the government institutions, how do you do business, how every stage works in business. Because in the United States it is normal. Some multiply by 4 because their overheads. Having a store in New York won't be like me here in Rwanda. So we would say we are paying producers $8. We are selling it at 12. The person, the importer, is going to sell it at 24. The retailer is going to sell it at 48. They never understood that. And that created a lot of things, thinking that there was exploitation. But as time went on and they researched how market worked, that one we overcome it through educating our partners, especially government institutions, that this is how pricing works. What we do here, we are transparent. We sit with our producers, tell them the channels, because they would see Fairwinds coming in to see the baskets. We show them how much we are making, how much they are taking. But another thing that made us really keep moving was we paid the highest price in this country. When you look at the normal, the labor, it is between 500 francs. It's between $1 and $2. So for us, we are beyond what they would pay per day. We wanted to have the comfort of the producer. If we give this $8, what does it mean in this person's life? So we never considered minimum wage in Rwanda. We actually wanted always to beat the minimum wage by far. So that's why we stayed in business, because our business model is that our producer takes the highest percentage of what we make.
Very, very strategic, and that's to your point why you've been as successful as you are. Would you recommend export to others? I mean, to your point, there's a lot of work involved. Is it worth it?
It is worth it because, you know, American market is big and it's volume. For me as a craft person, I always want to go to exploit opportunities, but I think export is the key part, not only to people, producers, but also to the government. That's where they will get more foreign exchange. Much as you have hustles, but once you stabilize, it is the best thing. because you have your volume, you are packaging, you are gone, and then you are thinking more. It gives you time to plan. It's a market that gives you time to plan, production, lead time. It's fun.
If you were to say there was three things that make you successful as an exporter, what would those three things be?
Number one, valuing my producers, paying a fair wage to the producers. Number two is quality. Number three, innovation.
You've got pictures of some pretty prominent people
Right.
in your office, particularly in the U.S. and in Rwanda, some leaders here as well. How important has public relations been in the success of your organization?
I think it is the key to our success because if you look at President Bill Clinton, there's a statement he put in the New York Times. Even when he appeared on Martha Stewart show, he said, if every American would own a Rwandan paste basket, it would mean a lot to the people of Rwanda. And then the president of Rwanda, when you look at our national seal, they put in a basket. When we were launching this initiative in Macy's, people thought I was crazy to ask the president to come. But when he came in because of the value the basket was doing to the people of Rwanda. And when he came in, it gave it more importance. Especially if you look at me as Janet, I would be probably meeting maybe the store manager. By that time, the CEO and chairman of Macy's flew in to meet the president. So you can imagine how much value it held to see the president of Rwanda launching a small initiative like ours in Macy's.
You know, it's interesting. We've only been here a few days, but I have noticed that all our bills at a restaurant come in baskets.
Yes.
Actually,
We advocated for, people used to have plastics made in China, but we advocated showing that if people outside are embracing the uniqueness and the beauty of our products, why not Rwandans? So there are sometimes we volunteers, like you go to Serena Hotel to urge them to buy, you give free bread basket to show them that they are nice. And then later on they will come back and buy them. Because most people did not actually understand the uniqueness of our product. So if you go like when we did the interior designing of Serena Hotel, they were bringing in people from outside. But once you walk in the Serena Hotel restaurant rooms, we have baskets there. We went and told Serena Group and said we can do an amazing job using our home Rwandan products. But everybody who walks in Serena asks, who made this? They were made by our women. So public relations is the key to everything, not even a business, but any initiative you want to do, because people must know what you do. For us to be known, I had to go volunteer everywhere, but volunteer with my baskets. So it's very crucial.
You know, saying to someone, ask the president to come is one thing. How did you actually convince the president?
We went through Rwanda Development Board, proper government institutions, wrote a letter asking him to be at the launch, and Mrs. was interested in having him there. But our president is a visionary president. He values, I think we all gained our values because of his leadership. Before, women in Rwanda really, we are like property, I would say. You would not own anything, you would not do business. You would always be under the man. But he said there are equal rights in this country. So I think it was one of his moments of showing that he's empowered. But we went through proper channels. Then they asked me, why do you think the president would be great for him to come? I said, it is going to give it more value to this relationship. And I think he felt it that way.
Yeah, more export, more income coming in, everybody wins.
Yes.
What advice can you provide to a business owner about how to implement an effective public relations initiative?
Any idea you have, don't fear to talk about it. Because one of the things people fear to speak out what they are doing. Some get scared, maybe people will know what we are doing. But one advice I would say, be free, say what you think, what you do, what you want to achieve. You will never know where you meet your destiny.
And partnerships have been important to you.
Right.
And nurturing those partnerships as well. One thing I was curious about, you're talking about the Serena Hotel
Right.
and the baskets and people wanting those baskets. Are they labeled at all with your branding?
No.
No, they're not.
That was one of the challenges. Most of the brands, big brands, don't want to carry, but I would commend Kate Spade. On her label, okay, she has her brand Kate Spade New York, but on the tags she says made by the women at Kahaya Links. So, but others don't normally want to hear. They just want product, then put on their labels made in Rwanda, and that's it.
Now, you've impacted a lot of Rwandan women and men. And men. What has been the most significant impact you feel you've made in your career?
The biggest impact I did was in unity and reconciliation of Rwandans. But then another thing was to restore the women values, their dignity, their values. Another thing was women who were had problems, were raped during the genocide, the widows, the women living with HIV. One of the hugest things that I spread that most of them have felt the sense of tomorrow through, because they make money, they eat well, and they're able to take medications. Every time I meet them, I feel proud of myself because I say, these women are living because of the initiative.
If there was one thing you could attribute your success to, what would it be?
My humble beginning.
What is the most challenging aspect of your career?
The most challenging aspect was to balance between my family and business. Because I do a lot of traveling, so every time I'm traveling I feel guilty that I've left my children. But still, they also survive because of what I do. So that one I always feel that I never, maybe there are times I should be with my children, but I'm forced to travel.
So who takes care of them when you're traveling?
My sister Joy and I are sisters, but we are best friends. We are partners, but we are very, very good friends. We are neighbors. When I'm not there, then my children go to stay there. She cooks, she does everything, but she's been the strength of my family when I'm not here.
Is it fair to say that your face is more the public face of your company? Now, how does that work because you and Joy started this together?
We started it together. Joy is more of product development, then I'm more of marketing and public relations.
So I work with my husband, and I'm more the face.
Yes.
But he's equally as important to the success of Wisdom Exchange and our whole, and all our Ignite Excellence initiatives. Do you ever feel that Joy may feel that she doesn't get the recognition that you get?
Whenever we are to do something, we agree who's doing what. So Joy is not somebody who loves media. She's a product person, but at one point in time I forced her, please do that. And she sometimes says, I don't want to be on the camera. But one of the pillars of this company is Joy, because she focuses more on what I'm going to talk about. So we all have our strength in the company.
And I guess you do need to focus on your strengths.
I think our common goal, me and Joy, is how to keep the women busy. So we don't focus on our who is who, what value do I carry, but our key, actually our strength is what we do in keeping the women employed. It's not on who is doing what or who is seen.
Now, what would you say was the biggest obstacle to get to this point? And I mean more for you personally. And how did you overcome it?
My biggest obstacle along the way was finance. Because number one, we did not have collateral based on the women. We are not allowed to go to the bank before. It was the key challenge that we lost so many opportunities because we did not have enough collateral. We had just returned from exile. We had no property to put in the bank, so we worked. It limited us. We used our savings, both of us. We used our savings, but we worked within what we had, so that limited us. It was really a big challenge. But right now, as we moved along, people believing in us, seeing how much we are doing, banks started believing us, so they opened up for us to access the bank loans or overdrafts.
Was there any microfinance opportunities back when you started?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
No.
Now, has there ever been an initiative that you implemented that did not work?
Yes.
Could you share what that was?
Silk.
Oh, okay.
There was silk coming up. I love fashion. I thought I should use silk to make products. I actually ventured into, I invested a lot of money in making the hand looms. I did samples, but along the way it could not work because of the production cycle and the finance that involved. And I really felt so bad that I did not achieve it.
What would you do differently now?
What I would do I still have the dream of making our homemade fabrics out of silk, but I'm still debating on how to balance what we are doing and the finances, because it involves a lot of finance.
Well, I actually visited a silk producer in Ethiopia. I should introduce you to her. You never know even work. Yes.
I went to learn from her.
Yes, she does a great job.
She does a great job. So through Google I found her,
okay.
and I wrote her. She wrote back, and then I met her in Ethiopia.
This goes to our edginess segment, and this is something that you have to do, but you're very uncomfortable doing it. But in order to achieve the success that you have achieved, you have to continue doing it.
Sometimes what makes me uncomfortable is when people decide for you, especially our buyers, and they dictate prices. Sometimes I have to do it for the sake of the women, to keep the women working. I have to do it. I'm not comfortable. I'm not happy doing it, but I say that the women keep working, at least they make what they can make.
If there was one thing you would do differently in the pursuit of your success, what would that be?
What I would do differently is not to carry the burden of the company alone, or with my sister Joy, to have other people do other things for us. What I would do differently is to hire people to run the company and then focus on product. And yeah.
What does success mean to you?
To achieve what I have planned to do. I'm successful if I see my partner is also successful. So success means a collective and the impact to me.
Now, how would you define leadership?
Leadership is the way you embrace everything around, everybody, everything involved in what you do and how you do it best.
What 3 leadership lessons could you share with the women of Africa?
The lessons I would tell them that you don't need to be this big boss to be recognized leader. Team leadership is the best. When you are a leader, you need to be a team player, not a dictator. You need to embrace everybody's views. And to be a leader, you have to be always at the bottom, not at the top.
Let's talk about that one a little bit, because before we start our interview, you were really sharing a lot about working with the women in production. Could you describe to us how you make them feel comfortable working with you?
Well, number one is that I relate with them very easily. I make them feel comfortable. I crack jokes with them. I give compliments to them. I tell them my story. I share whatever went wrong in my life. You know, like women used to get scared, like opening up, like especially the widows, the genocide. And I'll tell them I'm a single mother, I have no husband, things were like this. And then, you know, not showing that I'm this person. So when I'm wearing, I go to the villages wearing kitenges like them. I eat with them, I share drink with them. You know, I hold their children, I visit them in their homes. So I humble myself to suit, you know, to be like one of them. And I'm one of them. I go to their homes and sometimes I ask them about their family. I tell them about my children. And another thing is that I opened up my home for them. They come anytime, my children, and they have seen that in my children because, you know, in some cases where you have children from this, pretty moderate. When they see an old woman carrying a baby on the back, you see some children doing like that, but your children don't do that. They welcome them, they entertain them when I'm not there. So I make them feel comfortable.
You also, I asked, what do you call the producers? And you said partners.
Yes.
Which is also a mentality as much as a
They are
word.
my colleagues. I tell them, you are part of us. They know that they are part of this company, because without them, then we are not there. So I show them the values, that they are the key players of what we are doing. So they feel proud about it.
What would you like your leadership legacy to be?
Well, I want people to emulate what I did. And they have started, whereby they say, I'm doing this because Madame used to tell us that we need to not to fear ourselves, we need to work hard. So I want to create a legacy of giving back, whereby you say, I met Janet, she was good, let me emulate what she did to the rest of us.
What's next for you?
Next for me is, I'm creating women to be proper entrepreneurs to emulate. But my next destination is I want to do a small real estate and I retire. I hope to have grandchildren. My firstborn got married, so I want to retire in a real estate where I know I have an income, and I'm planning about that. That's the next.
Now, given the chance, what would you love to do that you haven't done yet? And the world's your oyster.
Well, for me, I dream of having a foundation, which I'm doing it slowly, but what I want really to do is to have a foundation, but based on Christianity, on church, on my belief. I want to retire as somebody who talks about God, preaching and helping. There are some women who graduated who are no longer with us. I want to see how I can start a foundation that will help them.
What words of wisdom would you have for your daughter of 13?
I always tell my daughter to be humble, not to, there are children who take up seeing their mother very successful and they are boastful. I always want my daughter to grow up as a moderate child and as a child who has friends.
What do you wish you were told at that age?
Well, our parents played a great role in their own way, but there are several things that we missed because our parents never went to school. We never had career guidance. You would do what comes your way. So that one I missed. I wish my parents had been educated.
And finally, what words of wisdom would you give to African women?
We are very productive. We are strong women. Much as we may not be well educated, but we are very, very productive. We are great managers. We are great policymakers, and we can be a great force for Africa.
Thank you, Janet. Well, some great insight, not only on trade, but coming from humble beginnings to changing the lives of many, many Rwandans and giving them an opportunity and letting that message be heard by the world. And we thank Janet very much for sharing that. Again, my name is Suzanne S. Stevens, and I co-produce Wisdom Exchange TV alongside my husband, Michael K. Ginrich. We're traveling all over Africa, interviewing women leaders like Janet. Please, if you know a woman we should interview that's a trailblazer, pioneer, or leader of many, please email us at info@wisdomexchangetv.com and give us some insight of what they have achieved, and we'll do our own due diligence and contact them if they fit the criteria. Please do subscribe to Wisdom Exchange TV. You don't want to miss an episode. These women share different insights every week, and I'm just blown away by Janet's insights today. I want to leave you with my words of wisdom, and that is, don't make it about yourself. As you heard Janet, every time she made it about somebody else and what they were going to get, success will come your way. Thanks for joining us.